Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the gnarly gnome. This is the weekly pint. It's not a show. It's a happy hour, which is a good thing because, as normal, it is not starting when it's supposed to start. It was supposed to happen 36 minutes ago, but that's the way it works sometimes. It's here. That's all that's important. The point of this is for us to all sit down and have a glass of something and hang out. And just talk about whatever we want to talk about. Caroline is drinking Chardonnay tonight. If she can remember where she put her glass, hope she finds her glass. We don't care what you're drinking. The point is to just enjoy yourself. So if you're drinking wine, that's okay. If you want to have a cocktail, it's fine too. If you want to have a sparkling water, feel free to have a sparkling water, even if said sparkling water company won't sponsor my show. It doesn't matter. Just drink whatever you want to drink. Marco is shocking us all by having a truth and getting to-go food. If you're new to the show, that's what he is always doing on the weekly pint. Let's see. Julia says, "Howdly doodly." For any Shift Beers fans, they'll get that reference. She is having a Verbal Tip Hazy IPA from Falling Knife. That is a brewery that I don't know, and a beer that I don't know, and a beer style that I do know. Let's see. Julia says to Caroline, she looks like she's a few glasses in. Caroline says, maybe record a podcast tonight with some of her mom's friends. They weren't drinking alcohol, so I had to drink for them. I respect that. You got to do what you got to do. Like I said, this is a happy hour. The point is for all of us to sit down and have a conversation and enjoy each other's company. As you guys are quickly learning or have already learned because you are regulars, the chat is a great place to do that. You can, however, also call in. That is an option. And the number, if you don't know it by now, is right down here on the screen. It's 567-70-DRINK, and it'll call right in here to the studio, and you can chime in that way. Or you can just jump on the chat, which is right there, not working. It's supposed to be right there. Huh. Guess we should have tested that before the show. Lord. Wonder what's going on here. I don't know if there's a way to do this while I am broadcasting. Let's do that. See if that helps. That does not help. Wait, there we go. Look at that. Goodness gracious. All right. We've got it, guys. The chat is working. Most of you guys are on Facebook, so it doesn't matter too much. But if you decide to stream the show on one of the other platforms, and there are other ways to listen or watch the show, you can get on Twitter, you can get on YouTube, you can get on Twitch, you can do all that stuff, and you can still listen and interact with the show. And wherever you are, your chat will come onto this screen down here, but not to everybody else's screen. So I wish there was a way to do that. That would be really great. But I guess all of those platforms want to keep you on their platform. They probably don't even appreciate when people do streams like this where they stream to everything all at the same time. It would probably be pushed by some of these platforms more if I didn't do that. But that's not really the point, is it? I'm going to crack open a beer. I have a street side beer. This is called Midwesty. This is a collaboration beer. I should have looked this brewery up. I think it's called a Taproom or Taproom A Taproom. I'm not sure. I don't know anything about that brewery. Let's see. A Taproom. So Midwesty. It's a West Coast IPA made with Mosaic and Simcoe hops. It says a taproom and street side got together, made an epic homage to talking shit. West Coast IPAs of yore and having a good old-fashioned brouhaha made for a tap room's 1-year anniversary to make up for the fact that Garrett didn't think Eric and Xavier would crush the game like they have their first year. We present to you Midwesty, a West Coast IPA brewed with Mosaic and Simcoe, just like the IPAs you know and loved with a little D in parentheses. 16 fluid ounces, 7% ABV. Keep cold, drink fresh. A collaboration with the tap room, yada yada. Crafted and canned in Cincinnati, Ohio, by Streetside Brewing. Shout out to Streetside for sending me home with this the last time I was there, which was last week to record this week's episode of Cincy Brewcast. So, if you Marco says it's on tap at Higher Gravity Summit Park, which I may or may not be making a trip out to Higher Gravity Summit Park this week. Let's see. So there is a movement, I guess, of folks wanting these beers to come back, these West Coast IPAs, a nice, bitter IPA for sake of IPAs. You know, the term IPA has grown to mean a lot of things over the last few years, between white IPAs and hazy IPAs and milkshake IPAs, and there's just a lot of other things that now mean IPA that didn't used to. And some of us want our IPAs the way they used to be. Tim says there's a West Coast style and a New England style IPA. Someone in Cincinnati needs to make Midwest style IPA. I have heard people call their IPAs Midwest IPAs. A Midwest IPA is kind of it leans into the malt a little bit more than West Coast leans into the hops a little bit more. New England obviously leans into the fruit, not actual fruit, I guess I should say. The fruity side of hops, whatever the thiols or whatever. I'm not nearly nerdy enough to understand half of that stuff yet. But sorry, I'm fixing a light while I'm trying to talk. Let's see. Narrow Path is coming out with the Midwest Coaster IPA. Josh says West Coast, Best Coast. All Ohio hops for the Midwest Coaster IPA. I like that. I think. Hang on, we're finding fixtures. This one here. This light over here is too bright. Sorry, my on-air light. If it isn't just the right bit, it looks strange. There we go. That looks better, right? Sorry, it was driving me nuts. I can see it right out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against the other IPA styles that exist out there. I don't think that one is better than another. I know that I prefer something like this more than I prefer a New England usually. But I think New England IPAs are just fine. I just hate that they're all called IPAs. I think it's confusing. I don't know what IPA means anymore. Is it just hops? Is it just a hoppy beer, which that in itself doesn't tell people anything. It's just as bad as the people that walk in and want to know the IBUs of a beer, thinking that means something. When somebody says something is hoppy, it doesn't really mean anything. But let me dive into this. Simcoe Hops, I have a love-hate relationship with them. Sometimes I crack open a beer and I immediately know that they're Simcoe because I don't like that catty kind of thing that they can do. I can tell you right now, just smelling this in the glass, this is not one of those beers. You couple it up with something like Mosaic and it becomes something else, I think. But yeah, this it smells like craft beer. Like when I should say, when I started drinking craft beer and that excitement and that feeling of sitting down at a bar, either in a bar, a craft beer bar, or at a brewery or anywhere, hanging out with a friend and cracking open a beer, and that early kind of shock of what hops do to a beer, what hops can do to a beer, that bitter blast of tropical fruit, pine, resin, like that. There's something really nostalgic. Is nostalgic a good way to put it? Something that just immediately takes my mind back to a different time of my drinking experience. And every time I smell a West Coast IPA, I get transported right back to that. Oh, and that's gorgeous. Oh, so good. The beer itself is clear. It's beautiful. It's golden. But then that flavor. Oh, man. That big blast of it's not overly hopped, especially this beer. This is still balanced. Like there's still enough malt going back there. A nice kind of crackery light malt. It's not over the top, but it does kind of hold those hops, reins them in a little bit, and keeps it from getting out of control. So it's still, I mean, this is the way beer should be done. This is good. We know that Street Side can make great beer. You guys have tried Street Side's beer over the years. You know it's delicious, so it shouldn't be a surprise. Julia says that they are saving a green tea IPA from Stone for me. It's super good. I'd like to try it. Definitely, definitely curious to try it. I'll throw some beers together for you guys. I have plenty. I don't think that I have had this much beer in my house for a very long time. On top of the stuff that came back from West Virginia, which we were there a couple weeks ago. We talked about that on the show already. On top of that, the stuff that I got from Street Side, and then the stuff that I've just been kind of stocking up on my own. We are well stocked with beer right now. It's been a good week of drinking, that's for sure. Which it should be. It's a holiday week, or we're coming out of a holiday week. I hope everybody had a good Easter. Assuming you celebrate Easter, it's not meant to be offensive if you don't, but it's the United States. Most people celebrate Easter, I think. So I hope you guys had a good one. We did our adult Easter egg hunt, as the new trend I think is becoming, which is where this year we all only brought 4 beers because it got out of control in past years. But everybody brings a 4-pack of mixed drinks, mixed 4-pack, not mixed drinks. I mean, they can be. And then we give them to our children, tell our children to go hide them in the yard. Then we run out and we go find them. I ended up with a couple good ones. I think I had a Coast to Coast from 50 West. I had a can of Corona Extra, which, okay, it's fine. I'll drink it. I had... Oh, Lord, what was... I had a little mini bottle of whiskey, and then I can't remember for the life of me what the fourth one was. But it was something delicious, something tasty. So got some good ones. I kept finding my own beers was the problems, the ones that I brought. And I want to take them home because I still have some of those beers. So, let's see... Caroline says, "Ooh, the girl child should be old enough to do that for us next year." It's a lot of fun. We had one casualty. I think one of the kids was trying to put a beer in a tree, and the beer fell while they were trying to put it in the tree and busted. And one of the children came inside, soaked in beer, said we had an accident. So sometimes things like that happen. So you have to be ready for any judgment that your neighbors might have for you if they see you doing this and your kids are soaked with beer and out running around the yard with 6 packs of beer. Whatever. Our neighbors understand, I think, at this point, who we are. I did pull some labels this week if we want to roll through those. Otherwise, do you guys want to talk about this week's Brewcast? I thought it was a great one. It's always great when you show up at a brewery at 9 a.m. or whatever time it was and start drinking 15% pastry stouts. That was fun. But I was really excited to get to try all of the beers from the upcoming Speak of the Devil Day at Streetside. Let's get that a little bit closer. Julia says they were breakfast beers. They really were. That's what's, they will also be whatever time of day beers, depending on when you're drinking them. But it is kind of incredible how much, like a lot of those beers are candy inspired. I mean, they're pastry stouts. So take a snowball pastry stout. It's amazing how you can take that beer and when you start drinking it at 9 a.m., it just kind of tastes like breakfast. Toasted coconut tastes like a breakfast food. Granted, some had some maple, some coffee, things like that, but coconut, chocolate, all of these things kind of very quickly become breakfasty. I'm okay with that. Speaking of breakfast beers, I think I still have one more can of Socially Influenced in my fridge. I should crack that open one of these mornings. Now that my boss is a little more lenient about drinking while you're at work. Let's see. All right. There's really not that many labels this week. Sorry. I got you guys excited about something that isn't that exciting. I've got 4. Let's see. Tim says, newbie question, does a brewery have to get permission from the state for a label on a bottle or can that will only be sold in the tap room and not distributed? Oh, that is a great question. Technically, and I know there will be breweries that disagree with me, technically, every label is supposed to follow the rules for approval. However, they don't have to get approval through the federal TTB, which is what I'm able to see. The only time it has to go through the federal TTB is if it's being distributed across state lines. So if it's just being released in somebody's tap room, there's no reason that they have to get a label approval in the sense of the things that I'm showing here on this show. I hope that answers the question. So no, like not all beers come through the TTB. The federal TTB is the things that I'm looking at. Okay, let's roll through. Let's kick into this since there's really not that many. Let me pull the chat off the screen for a minute so you guys can see the whole thing. I always forget to change. This is way inside baseball, but when I change from one thing to the other, I can do just a straight cut like this. Just changes really fast. I prefer it to be a little smoother like this, and I always forget to change it to that before I do it. There's too many things going on. This is what happens when you don't have David here helping. He actually never helps with any of this stuff. All right. This first one is a brewery that I don't know. It's called Champion Brewing Company. They are not local. However, as I'm sure you can probably guess, this label is approved through Impact Brewing. That is the contract side of TAFs. So this is Champion Brewing Company, brewed in Cincinnati. Caroline says David was around for one episode and gets all the shit still. David was around for a lot of episodes. We just don't usually talk about him. But I decided to include him once or twice. He's been around a couple episodes. And he will be back, hopefully next week. So this is American IPA. I assume American IPA means a nice West Coast. It says an American IPA with firm bitterness, intense citrusy hop aromas, made with 2-row pale ale malt, heavily dry hop. So yeah, this is This is right on par with what we were talking about as far as West Coast IPAs versus New England's and things like that. Wouldn't mind trying it, but I don't think this is distributed here. There's probably no chance of us getting our hands on this unless somebody travels somewhere and sees it. There's another one from also Champion Brewing Company. This one evidently is a 2015 GABF Gold winner for Bohemian Style Pilsner. This is obviously, if you guys, better than floppy bitterness. Firm bitterness is always way better than floppy bitterness. If you guys know me, you know the beers that I really flock towards, and a good Pilsner, especially a good Czech style Pilsner, is right up my alley. 4.5% ABV. Yeah, I could crush this, I'm sure. But again, Champion Brewing Company. Don't know how to get their beer. Don't know where they're out of. I didn't do any research on the brewery, so there we go. Charlottesville, Virginia. So, I mean, that's not that far away. There's a chance we'll be passing through at some point. Up next, I went ahead and pulled this one just because I liked the name. There's a couple different similar beers that Rheingeist is going to be doing. These are just on tap. I don't typically pull the keg collars like this unless it's something that really pops out at me. This one is called Walkstar. It is an Asian-style lager, and I don't know what that means. Let's look and see if there is any actual style description for what an Asian-style lager is. I'm going to say there's probably not. Let's see. No, so the first thing that pops up when I Google it is an ad for Modelo Negra Munich's Dunkel-style lager. Okay. Modelo Chelada comes up next. There is an Asian-style lager from Chuckanut Brewery. There is an article from Beer Advocate about Asian lager. Great leap backward. Asian beers. So yeah, this doesn't really tell me about a style. I'm assuming it is similar to a rice lager. I mean, but Colin says rice. Yeah, so what is the difference between an Asian style lager and American light lager brewed with rice? Marco says maybe rice and Sriracha Ace hops. I don't know. That's the problem. That's why I hate beer styles, because it doesn't really tell us anything. But I went ahead and pulled it because I was curious. Walkstar. The name. Oh, Lord. And then label approval for teak. I don't know exactly. Everything is different on this one. I think the top looks different there to me. The part that kind of wraps up over that little thunk on the can. You know what I mean by the thunk. You know, this little top part where it kind of indents a little bit. Yeah, I actually still have not tried teak. I should have drank that tonight because I do have some. I just haven't tried it. And that's it for our label approvals. I told you guys there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. It's not very exciting. But there's some there, so that's why I'm only, and I know I've probably talked about this, it's why I'm only pulling labels every couple weeks now, because unless I start pulling like a bunch of stuff a little wider than local, some weeks there just really isn't anything. But some weeks there's a bunch. So if anybody has any ideas for things that they want to talk about, feel free to chime in. I've been working my way through this week a ton of West Virginia beer, trying to share it with folks and spread the love a little bit. Again, huge thanks to Kara from Greenbrier Valley from sending a ton of beer back to Ohio with us. Huge thanks to Matt for inviting us out there on a trip that was an absolute blast. If you guys didn't hear about that, go back to 2 episodes back on the Brewcast where we talked about kind of our adventures, about how we almost killed Marco, all of that. It was there's some good stories that I did. Marco says I have shared. I did hear from quite a few of our West Virginia breweries that we were at in the past couple weeks, with mostly very, very nice things to say about us and having us out there. Mostly, we won't go too deep. As far as things that are upcoming, I have been busting my butt on gnome creative work. So I've been making all kinds of videos. Colin says, I want to talk about the Reds filing in opposition to the March 1st trademark. Yes, we can talk about that. Julia says, helping clean up my mom's basement. Got an old Hudipole and Christian Moreland glass bottle that are pretty cool. I love some of those old vintage bottles. I wish that I had more space to store things like that so I could build a collection. Marco says, any Seltzer Fest news? Yes, I have some of that too. So let's start. We'll start with Seltzer Fest because that is talking about videos that aren't Gnome Creative videos, that are just Gnome videos. That will probably be one of the next ones that gets done. Hopefully. I have currently, I was telling my wife yesterday or something that I was looking through the in progress folder of different videos that I'm working on, and there's like 13 videos or something that are just in progress. Now, some of those have been in progress for a very long time. Some of them I started working on, and they're kind of not timely at all anymore, so I'll try to repurpose some of that footage somewhere else, and that video itself will probably get scrapped. But some of them are very close to being in progress that will be done here soon. Seltzer Fest is definitely one of those videos that, actually that's not, it doesn't have a folder yet because it's just on paper. I haven't started filming it, but Seltzer Fest is in, almost 2 weeks, which is a hair under 2 weeks. The end of the month, at the end of the month, I will have a blog post up about it before the video. That's for certain. The video I might not even put up until after Seltzer Fest, honestly, depending on how it all ends up getting planned out. But it is happening again this year. It is 2 days this year, Friday and a Saturday. There is a session on Friday and I think 2 sessions on Saturday. So there's going to be a whole bunch of seltzer drinking. Oh, there we go. Joey says that Ohio's for Loggers Festival is happening in Columbus at Wolf's Ridge this Friday, kicking off Columbus Craft Beer Week. Tim says that I accidentally log into Shift Beers. It's just because seltzer, look, it's my gripe last year about Seltzer Fest was that they didn't, Cincy Seltzer Fest didn't have any Cincy seltzer. They listened, and this year they have a massive representation of Cincinnati-made seltzer. So, love it or hate it, it is local. It is a local product that people are making, and a lot of people are drinking. So I want to at least share it with people that that's what they want to drink. And there are some seltzers that I think are worthy of paying attention to. I think that there are the majority of them are still just not my thing, but the ones that are. Oh, Tim said I was referring to the burp. It was more of a pre-burp. I'm a very, very burpy drinker. It's not my fault. I hope that everybody abides by the Shift Beer rules on this show. Also, this show that is not a show. For every burp, you have to take a drink. So, cheers. Let's talk about the. We can touch on the Lager Festival a little bit. Um, I'm all about that. I would love to see a Lager Festival of some kind happen here in Cincinnati. That's not a fair statement, though. We have Oktoberfest, plenty of Oktoberfests, and we have Bachfest. Those are both lager festivals, but I would like to see a broader lager festival, something where people can bust out some fun stuff, or maybe some kind of normal, quote unquote, boring things too. I'd like to get one place where I could go and I could try everybody's pilsners all at the same time of year. I hate the staggering of beer styles. I like to try a bunch of them, all at the same time. So if anybody gets up to Columbus this weekend, definitely hit that up, because not only do I like Columbus beer, I really like lager. It could happen right before or after Schwarzbierfest. I think the smarter way to do it would just to make a Schwarzbier festival part of a lager festival. Caroline says, do the lagers that aren't box really matter? They do, but not as much. I'm a huge fan of Bach, but there's only so much Bach one guy can drink. It makes for a long day. I like something that I can drink a lot more of. Love Bach. But I'll take Schwarzbier over Bach. I will definitely take a good Pilsner over Bach. that's my opinion. Oh, that was the other beer I got in my adult Easter egg hunt. That was a West Side Pilsner. I remember that now. Yeah, it was a West Side Pilsner chilling in my bag. I don't know why it just popped in my head. Grace says, yes, we do. Drink more Schwarzbier. Is it one of those things, though, where everybody says they want Schwarzbier, but nobody buys Schwarzbier? Colin says there's only so much Bach a whole city can drink, which is why it's only available for like 2 weeks. There's so much of it for those 2 weeks, though. It really is. It's nuts. It wasn't more. I think I did a final check after this year's Bachfest, but there were almost, like really, really close, almost as many Bachs, as many different Bach beers brewed in Cincinnati as there were Oktoberfest beers brewed in Cincinnati, which is crazy to me. And I know that they weren't as big of batches, I'm sure, in a lot of cases. Some cases they were. And I know a lot of places made multiple Bachs, which kind of messes the whole stat up a little bit. But there were a lot of Bach beers. Marco says, when my wife got a promotion last year, I bought everyone a round of West Side Pilsner at BC's Montgomery. Of course, that was the day that I wasn't there. Lame. I'm kidding. Julia says, I believe West Side's Dank IPA and Cerveza are releasing this week. Yes, it was. There's like a Negra Cerveza, so like a dark Cerveza, right? Which I'm assuming is like a Vienna-ish lager, sort of. I when I think of that like dark Mexican lager, and Julia says, we'll buy you a pint whenever you're at BC's. I'm going to call you every time I'm at BC's and tell you to buy me a pint. When I think about dark Mexican lager, so the last time that I sat down and actually drank at Madtree, which now that I'm saying this out loud, it's been way too long since I've been at Madtree, was in January, right when I quit my job. My last day at work, went with a bunch of people from work, and my wife came and met us there so that she could drive me home. And I drank a bunch of their Safety Falcon, all night long, which was their dark Mexican lager, and it was so freaking good. I like beers like that a lot, actually. Um, one of my nicknames in high school. So Safety Falcon. um, I want more beers like that around. It's still kind of a smooth, mellow, which are terrible descriptors for a beer. It doesn't really tell you anything. Just a nice, easy drinking beer, but oh yes. We released it previously, but West 6th has a packaged beer named Cerveza, so we updated the name. Gotcha. On the kind of that same note, I think Matry just announced they were doing that new version of a Huevo, which is their Mexican style lager now, not the Mexican hot chocolate stout. I think, let's see, I think it was on Facebook. It's probably on more than just Facebook, but I am burpy, guys. Let's see. Yes. A Huevo, their Mexican style lager, which looks freaking delicious. It's just a picture, but a picture of a can. The can looks delicious, you guys. Bunch of Mexican style lagers around. Bunch of really great lagers around. I mean, that's the thing about Cincinnati, right? Like there are things that we do very well, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people will argue with me, but there's things I want to say. But there are things that we do really, really well in the city, and one of those is lagers. It fascinates me to a very large degree that you can walk into a lot of really small tap rooms, a lot of no frills type of places, and they've got a lager on tap. And while it may not be the best lager I've ever had in my life, it's a good lager. And that, even looking back 5 years ago in this city, that idea would have been crazy. There were lots of people trying to replicate that in other ways, and it's good. It's good for us lager fans. It's good for beer fans in general. That's what I think. Going back to the other question, the Cincinnati Reds filing opposition to March 1st's trademark application for the Cincinnati Brewing Company. I've got a couple thoughts here, and I don't want to make anybody mad with this. We have a brewery in town, and this is very multi-leveled here. So number one, I understand why the Cincinnati Reds are filing opposition, the font and everything. Like, okay, you're supposed to do that if it's close. Worst case scenario, it gets shot down and whatever. You did what you were supposed to do. But the other side of this is, why is this trademark being filed in the first place? So we have a brewery in town called the Cincy Brewing Company. And then you have the Cincinnati Distillery. You now have what seems to me like the beer operation of Cincinnati Distilling Company in Milford, would be called Cincinnati Brewing Company. I think that's a little confusing. I think that is probably not a great trademark for everybody to fight over, because it's confusing. That's my thought on it, I guess. Is number one, like I get that the name Cincy Brewing Company or Cincinnati Brewing Company, or I get that those are all really great names, especially for search engine optimization and whatnot. Like, it's a very A lot of people are typing that in. People are going to find you. But it's also a little soulless for me. I need more to the story. I need somebody to tell me who they are. And I know that not every brewery is like that. I know that there are places that don't operate that way. But for me, that's part of why I drink at a certain place. Is because I can identify with the brand and with the story and the personality, and it was a huge part of what made craft beer what craft beer was when it started. So I hope that kind of gives you insight into my thoughts. I hope it doesn't make anybody too mad, but I still love you guys. Let's see. Going back to the lager talk, Marco says there was a huge stigma that if you didn't have horizontal tanks or spunding valves that you could not make proper lagers. It's absolutely incorrect. Yeah, there are things that I think you need to do. Well, this is a big conversation too. We talked about this a little bit when I did the lager roundtable back at Fretboard. Back, I don't know when that was. Was it last year? Maybe last summer. I think it was warm outside. It was warm outside, so it was probably last summer, maybe fall. I don't know, but either way, just do some type for lager roundtable, and you'll find it. There is a side to brewing, especially to brewing some of those traditional beer styles, that is about tradition, process. Marco says decoction. F that. That's kind of where I'm going with those two. There is some process things that I think are they are important, even if it's just for tradition's sake. I think. I don't know if all of them make an actual difference in the end result. I'm not sure. I still, I would love to try some side-by-sides of lots of different things. I know that there are people turning around lagers a lot faster than traditionally was being done because of new yeasts and new techniques and new things like that. Okay. Same kind of thing with decoction. I recognize that the modified malt today makes decoction not necessary, but can you taste a difference? And the experience of making a lager, the experience of being a lager brewery that does those things, does that change something? I hope you guys are following me. I know that it's a big topic. It's a very big topic that I don't know that we can get into on the weekly pint, especially when we're already 45 minutes into the show. I don't know. I really, really, really would love to try two beers side by side that are the same recipe, one that is decocted and one that is not, and just see if there's an actual flavor difference. I've definitely tried lagers that were decocted that I thought were delicious, and I've definitely tried lagers that weren't that I thought weren't. But the reverse goes. I've had lagers that weren't decocted that I think are amazing, and I've had lagers that were decocted that I thought were not. So I can't. It's hard to say one way or the other. And the same goes for some of the faux lagers that are out there right now that are not actually lagered in traditional sense of the word of stored, aged, spend time. That there are plenty that I've had that I thought were great, and so I don't know. Colin says that hits it on the head. Very little actual controlled sensory has been done on this kind of thing. Well, it's there's a in the food and the beverage space. There are lots of there's lots of little things. Colin says Boston Lager is a 28-day lager because Jim insists on it. Everything else basically is 10 days, including Oktoberfest. It's similar to me to the idea that bourbon can only be made in the United States. Not that I'm opposed to that. I like that we have bourbon. I like that it's our thing. But the idea that somebody can't follow the process of bourbon and make bourbon somewhere else is dumb for drinkers. It's dumb for the experience of getting a beverage. It's dumb for understanding what that beverage is. The same goes for tequila or champagne or anything like that. That it's not about the process of making it 100%. There's part of that process is that it has to be made here, or it has to be made, it just doesn't make any sense. And I don't know, which is kind of contradictory to how I feel about lager, but that's because in my head I think it does make a difference. I think that's it. I think that a decoction, I think that a extended lagering period, proper lager yeast, I think that all of those things do change something. I have no evidence for that, and that's how I feel. Whereas I don't think that a tequila, if it was made with the right ingredients and the right process, if it was made in Nebraska, would be an inferior product. It would just be Nebraska tequila, which I would buy. That's how I feel, and I don't have any kind of real evidence for that, but it is something that I should probably explore sometime, and something that I would love to find a way to put to the test a little bit, if there was a way to actually do that, which I don't really think there is right now, easily. I need somebody to make two lagers side by side, that one is done the more traditional way, and one that's not, just so I can try them both, but try to keep them try to make them the same, which I don't know who would ever do that. So that's how I feel about lager. Rabbit holes. That's is one of the themes of the show. We can go down rabbit holes, and it's okay. We don't have to feel bad about it because it's not really a show. Thank you guys. I appreciate everybody hanging out. Colin says, sounds like a job for Impact's customers. Oh, there's another rabbit hole we could go down. We will be back next week. We'll do this again. This happy hour thing. This started kind of towards the start of COVID and the shutdowns, and a way for us to pretend that we were still drinking with other people when we were locked in our houses. And even now that we can get out and we can drink out with other people, I still really enjoy this idea of kicking off the start of a week, Monday nights, with a beer, and to kind of unload any of the previous week's thoughts and opinions, and start things new, and kick into another exciting week. So thank you guys for being a part of it. This is always fun for me. So in the words of Caroline, Prost, and we'll be back. We'll see you guys see you guys next week for the same thing, just probably a different beer and different topics. But same thing, same idea. Cheers, everybody. I'll see you guys all at Seltzer Fest in a couple weeks. I hear that decocted seltzer is the best seltzer. Yes, happy birthday this week to Marco and Julia.